Thank you, everyone, for joining this edition of Chair Chat, a special edition. Uh, I am honored and privileged to have Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton here with us this evening. She is someone that I have respected and admired for some time since she was a state representative. So this is a huge honor, and thank you so much for joining us this evening, Lieutenant Governor.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Ken.
Well, how are you doing today? Number one, let's start there. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great and I'm glad to be here. And I just want to say good evening to everyone who's joining us. And thank you for inviting me to discuss the upcoming election and everything that we all know is at stake here in Illinois. I know that we're going to have a conversation and I look forward to your questions, but I first want to just give a shout out to the DuPage County Democrats. You have all been at the forefront of getting Springfield back on the side of working families. And I really just cannot thank you enough for all of the doors that you've knocked, all of the calls that you've made, all of the voters that you've helped turn out. I really believe that you're the lifeblood of our party, and we are so grateful for you. And Ken, I just want to also just thank you for your tireless leadership and advocacy. For everyone from the DuPage County Dems, I know all of you know that you are in good hands with Ken at the helm. And Ken, I'm a big fan of yours as well. And certainly to Pam Pentozzi and Jessica Heyerbaum, thank you both for joining tonight's conversation. And I just want to say to all of you, we know that wherever Democrats put up a strong fight, we win. In 2018, you know that we won the largest victory over an incumbent governor in a century, and we won the Democratic control of every single statewide office. We flipped 10 seats in the General Assembly. We won county board seats and county board chairs. And last year, in the midst of a COVID crisis, really, that limited our door-to-door campaigning, we held our ground and we won the presidential race in Illinois by 17 points. So I really can't wait to see what this year has in store. And I certainly look forward to taking your questions about, what will undoubtedly be a big year.
Thank you for that. And we have collected those questions for you. And a little bit later in our chat, we are going to have the Democratic Party of DuPage County's Vice Chair, Pam Pentozzi, and one of our wonderful township chairs, Jessica Heyerbaum, joining the conversation. But my first question for you, Lieutenant Governor, to start us off, so often we are told that as Democrats, we don't really message about what we should be messaging about. So I want to start off by asking, tell us some of the biggest things that Democrats have done in Springfield that most residents don't know about.
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. And I think it's something that we have to talk about and we'll continue talking about and telling about these accomplishments over the next several months. But we certainly know that the COVID crisis has really changed the world for all of us. And I really just want to pause for a moment because there has been so much grief over the past 20 months. And I just want to say it's been hard not seeing everyone in person. I hope you all are well and that your loved ones are well. And I hope you're taking good care of yourselves and taking good care of each other. JB's leadership has really helped us navigate unprecedented challenges. And we've been keeping our friends and family safe and healthy. And that's been our number one priority. But we have also done so much to put Springfield back on the side of working families. And that's what we need to be talking about and telling the story about. Since JB and I were elected, Democrats have raised the minimum wage. We expanded healthcare coverage to thousands of Illinoisans. And we've made historic investments in education and childcare so that families everywhere, regardless of their zip code, are able to thrive. And I'm really just so proud of the work that we've done to strengthen protections to ensure equal pay for equal work. And some of you may know that I serve as the chair of the Illinois Council on Women and Girls, and I've been working on preventing gender-based violence in our state. We've made Illinois a safer and more compassionate place for survivors, while also bolstering our ability to really hold those who cause harm accountable. We also, as you know, passed the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, historic nation-leading clean energy legislation that really centers the communities that have been most impacted by the climate crisis. And in doing so, Illinois is now a leader on real equitable climate action, and we serve as a model for other states. And then lastly, I just want to mention that we've made some real strides towards getting Illinois' fiscal house in order after the mismanagement and disinvestment of the Rauner years. We've stabilized state finances, leading to all three rating agencies to improve our state's credit rating. And we passed a balanced budget that begins to pay down debts from the prior administration. So I'm feeling good about the messages that we have to tell. We just have to make sure everyone knows about these messages and the accomplishments, the things that we have done together, and tell that story over and over again, because Democrats have so much to be proud of.
Yes, we do. And you are going to be telling that story over and over again to so many of our residents here in Illinois in the upcoming months. So how are you feeling about being back on the campaign trail in 2022?
Well, first of all, I'm excited. Like, let me just start with that. I'm so pleased that we can gather with supporters in a variety of settings. Sometimes we can safely gather in person with our masks, or we can gather on Zoom like we are tonight. Wherever people may be, I'm just glad to see everyone and to be able to get back to work. I consider it to be really invigorating to be back in communities all across Illinois, talking to real people about how much progress we've made and how much more we can still accomplish together. I think back to just a year ago, when it seemed almost unimaginable that we would be able to gather with people in a safe way. But I'm so grateful for the scientists and the health professionals. I'm grateful for technology, quite frankly, that has brought us to this moment. And I'm really fired up to be back on the trail. You all know I like being out there talking about all the things that Democrats have done and will continue to do. So I like being on the campaign trail, and I look forward to seeing all of you out there as well.
You most certainly will. We have a lot of avid door knockers here. I have the gym shoes ready. I have a couple of pairs. I'm ready to knock some doors for you.
That's right. You need more than one pair, Ken, because we're going to walk through those. We got a lot of door knocking to do.
I have about two. I have two. I like to rotate so I can color coordinate with my t-shirt.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I know you do. Question for you. This is going to be a hard question. If you had to only pick one central item to discuss in 2022 that would really, really, really highlight what we do here in Illinois, what would that one item be that you discuss?
Well, I'm going to answer that question and try to slide in a couple of things. But what I will say is that, JB and I have fought tirelessly to put Springfield back on the side of working families through historic legislative wins and an unprecedented pandemic. Our administration has really provided necessary leadership through some of our state's most difficult times. But I would say more broadly than that, that we need to be focused on electing Democrats up and down the ballot. It's crucial that we make sure that we get out and vote for candidates that really put our values first and who will fight for working families. So every vote matters in every single race. We can never forget that. And we have to make sure that we elect Democrats up and down the ticket. There is no race that's going to be on the ballot that it's not important that we make sure that a Democrat gets elected to office.
Standing ovation from me. What are you most optimistic about for 2022?
Well, I'm an optimist by nature. I think many of you know that I believe in what Democrats are able to accomplish. I believe in the things that we are fighting for. And I believe that change is possible, even though sometimes it seems like in the times that we're living in, it can be very difficult. People in Illinois know what's at stake in 2022. Reproductive rights, our clean energy future, a livable minimum wage, and there's so much more that's on the line. And I'm really excited to build on and protect the progress JB and I have delivered, because if a Republican gets back in the governor's office, and I shudder to even think about that, but if a Republican gets back into the governor's office, we know that everything could change in a heartbeat. And at a time when so many states are moving in the wrong direction, we must keep Illinois moving forward. And so I'm optimistic, because if we do what we need to do, we will be right back in these offices to make sure that our state continues to be a beacon in this nation.
Thank you. And now I am going to invite our Vice Chair, Pam Pentozzi, sorry, Pam, to join, and our Township Chair from Milton Township, Jessica Harbaum, to join. I will ask that we unmute them, please. Let's unmute. Thank you. Okay. So my first question for the entire panel, and just so we have some order and organization, because I like that, we'll do the Lieutenant Governor first, Vice Chair Pentozzi second, and Chair Harbaum third. We'll keep that rotation going. So, Lieutenant Governor, starting with you, what are we going to do to increase the voter turnout in our state? Traditionally, and I hate the term off-year election cycles because there's no such thing. So we have a lot of Democrats that are not going to come out, and we need them to. So what are our plans to get them in the ballot box and electing Democrats up and down the ballot?
Well, I like the way that you phrased it, and we are going to get them out. We're all going to do our part to make sure that we get every Democrat out to make sure that they cast their vote. But, you know, when I think back to when we first ran in 2018, nearly 700,000 more ballots were cast in Illinois elections compared to 2014. And we're going to be really just meeting people where they are and talking to voters directly about the issues that matter the most. You know, as I mentioned earlier, this is not an ordinary election. So much is on the line, from equal pay to balanced budgets, and we are going to work very hard to make sure that every voter in every corner of our state knows what's at stake. I think as Democrats, we cannot make any assumptions that people aren't going to come out. We have to recognize that we are going to do everything that we can to make sure that voters get out, because that's how important this election is.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Pentozzi, what are we doing here at DPDC to get out those votes?
Hey, thanks, Ken. Well, first, can I just give maybe a little shout out to the election legislation that we have that I think is going to make things easier, having, you know, an election day holiday and encouraging the vote by mail. I think it's going to be so important. We had so many people vote by mail and early vote that we just have to get that information out. So as far as the county goes, we have such great township chairs, and we have we're going to have a new great office. We're going to be there to support our PCs, which are, you know, the lifeblood of our organization, and get them the information they need so that they can tell our voters where to vote and when to vote and how to make it easy for them. You know, there's no excuse to not vote now, right? If you
That's
can
right.
vote from home, you can vote early. We have so many choices. So I just think that we're going to have everything we need in place, and coordinate with our candidates, right? So that we're hitting every door, not necessarily 5 times. We can, you know, maximize and coordinate and get every voter the information they need.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And Chair Harbaum, what about at our township level? What are your goals, and what are we going to do in that respect?
So at the township level, you know, we're responsible for making sure that our precinct committee people are out talking to our voters. Right now, we are taking a moment during this kind of quiet time before the primary to get out, talk to our voters. We're also reaching out to people who either don't typically vote, or maybe switched parties that used to vote Republican until things started to turn here on a national basis in 2016, and maybe started voting Democratic. but reaching out to the voters to make sure they really understand the issues and understand that the Democratic Party is the party that's really working to address these issues. Things like climate change, safety in our communities, infrastructure, pandemic preparedness. That's a big one. We've been talking to people as they feel like the Democrats have really been the ones that took this pandemic seriously. So we're just getting out there, reminding our voters, hey, you know, there's an election coming up. It's important. These are the issues that we believe the majority of people in Illinois can agree on are important things. And the Democratic Party is the one that's really pushing those through and making it happen. So that's what we're doing at the township level. Again, it's education, talking to the voters, making sure they're up to speed on everything. And then we're working with colleges in our township. There's a push there with Democratic groups in the colleges to educate their students on how governments work, how elections work, and so that they understand that these elections actually do matter to their lives as young people. So we're working on that too.
Thank you. And my next question for everyone, and if I can, I want to share the reason I wrote this question. This is actually the question that I wrote and submitted. And it is, what is your standout moment that made you the proudest to be a Democrat in 2021? And I have to share this. This is very personal to me. I had a very close friend who gave birth, and she passed away 13 hours after childbirth. And her family let us know that she had been saying something's not right, something is wrong, and no one listened. And watching our Congresswomen, Congresswoman Underwood and Congresswoman Kelly with Vice President Harris in that maternal Mom's Day of action made me tear up a little bit, which I'm trying not to do right now, but it choked me up, because I wish that had been in place when my friend Vidana was around. But it gives me hope that it will not happen to other women. And that's what Democrats do. We do, and we protect people, and we make sure that what happens to us does not happen to other people. So that's why I'm asking this question. And I will start with Lieutenant Governor Stratton. What is your proudest moment in 2021? The moment that you said, oh, so good to be a Democrat right now?
Well, Ken, first of all, thank you for asking this question. And before I respond, I just want to say, I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of your dear friend. My condolences to you. I think that many of us have situations where we have personal experience with some of the issues that we later end up working on. And it's often the kinds of issues that really drive us to push for policy change, because we don't want anyone else, as you said, to have to experience what we've experienced. You know, I lead what's called the Justice, Equity, and Opportunity Initiative, which really allows me to advance principles of restorative justice and advance and principles of really thinking about how can every community in our state be safe for everyone, regardless of their zip code. And we're really trying to address the harm that has been done by our criminal justice system. And I've really been proud to be at the forefront of Illinois as we work to enact change and set a standard that illustrates that we can have compassion in policy and we can positively impact our nation. And I think that's really what you're describing when you talk about maternal health and morbidity. You know, just 1 month ago, we committed $250 million in funding to target the root causes of violence and invest in historically overlooked communities. And it means a lot to me personally, as someone who has grown up on the South Side of Chicago. It means so much to be able to implement these kinds of programs that will undoubtedly make a difference in so many people's lives and ensure that we can create healthier communities. And that's something that every single person deserves. Everyone deserves to be safe. So I'm really proud of that work and the leadership that Democrats are showing.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Pentozzi, same question.
Can only pick one.
Yes.
All right. I I think in what has been a really long year, right? I am reminded that we just had an inauguration, right? Not that many months ago. And so many things seem brighter. I hope, on the right path. So I think that's what I am most proud of. I think of Amanda Gorman and her, inspirational poetry. And my screenshots of the day were Kamala Harris being sworn in and just feeling, a sense of change, hopefully. It felt empowering. And so I try to keep that inspiration in mind.
Thank you. And Chair Harbaum.
Thanks, Ken. That's crazy to think that was 2021, but it was.
I know, I had to go look.
It's been a long year. Well, I would like to just mention politically something we accomplished here in Milton Township that was one of our prouder moments is here in Milton during the municipal election in 2021, we passed a referendum for the 708 Mental Health Board here in Milton Township. And that board provides grants to organizations that help people with either mental health issues, intellectual or developmental disabilities or addiction disorders when those organizations don't have sufficient funding. So that was a big moment for Milton Township. Larry Pitts, who's on this call tonight, was the leader for us in the township, really helping to make sure that happens. And now there's a push through other townships here in DuPage to pass one of those as well. So that was a big accomplishment for the Democrats here. And it was people on both sides supported the issue, and that's why it passed. But it was definitely pushed by a group of Democrats.
Yeah, and big shout out to Larry Pitts, who is on this call. Gotta love Larry. Thank you, Chair. My next question. We talk often of how we are going to get our voters who vote in like our presidential to vote in 2022 and how to make them continual voters. How are we, and that's the collective, how are we going to get our non-voters to become voters? People who think that no matter what I do, it does not matter. My vote does not count. If I stay at home, it doesn't matter. How do we get those people to realize that their voice matters? Lieutenant Governor Stratton.
Well, Ken, first of all, thank you for phrasing it in the collective, because this really is about what we all can do together. It's not about just, I did my part. I mean, I voted. It is about voting and getting 10 friends and knocking on doors and doing everything we can. So like I said earlier, we're going to have to meet people where they are. We're going to do some great work, and we are already doing it on digital. We're already doing great work knocking on doors, texting and making calls. And we're not going to take our foot off the gas anytime soon. And that's what we all have to be prepared to do. And we're going to be reminding folks every single day for the next year that there's only one party that brought you a livable wage, the largest infrastructure bill in the nation that put people to work in some really good paying jobs, rebuilding our roads and bridges, that there's only one party that brought healthcare coverage for 130,000 more Illinoisans. One party that gave higher teacher salaries. One party that brought you a balanced budget and credit upgrades, and that's Democrats. So we're going to meet people where they are, and we're going to tell them what we have done as Democrats and motivate them to know that if they want to continue to see that kind of progress in our state, then it's Democrats that have to be elected up and down the ticket. So we've done all of that and so much more. We're putting Springfield back on the side of working families, and we're going to make sure that everyone knows it before Election Day 2022.
Oh, I'm excited already. Vice Chair Pentozzi.
Follow that. Well, I'm ready to go now. I mean, that's right. That's all we need. I can't agree more, right? I think that every vote matters, and that's what voters need to hear is your vote matters, your vote counts. We share our values, and it's not so much what we can do for you, it's just that what you can do for us too. So we need to hear what they feel is important, and they need to know that, you know, we share their values. And there's just so much on the line, right? With
Yes.
women's rights and wages and the environment. So I think messaging is there. We just have to make people realize that we do care. So that would be my main thing.
Thank you. And Chair Heyerbaum.
I would just add that I think that we need to make elections personal for people. We need to make sure that our voters are educated and understand what the people in power are able to do to impact their lives on a daily basis, and how it's important to have people you respect and trust and are good leaders at the helm. And that's at every level of government. And I think people need to understand that they think that government doesn't affect their lives, but it really does. And so we have a lot of good examples this time around to give examples, but education again with the voters.
Thank you. And to kind of send us out on a personal note and just to get to know a little bit about each other here, I want you to tell me there we go. I want to phrase this question the right way, because if I don't, I'm not going to get the answers I'm looking for. My question is, what is the last movie you thoroughly enjoyed and why? When I say thoroughly, I mean from the moment it started, in the middle, felt all those emotions, at the end, you felt something good or something positive or something inspiring. What was the last movie that took you through all of those emotions? And I'm going to start with Lieutenant Governor Stratton.
Well, it's funny because, you know, in asking the last movie that I enjoyed, I do have an answer for that. But when you said, why did I enjoy it? It's probably because it's the only movie that I've seen over the last year. But I really enjoyed King Richard, which is about the start of Venus and Serena Williams and about how their father, Richard, kind of coached them and mentored them and pushed for them to really excel in tennis. Many of you know that I'm the first Black lieutenant governor in over 200 years of Illinois history. And I think about the barriers that were broken when I was elected and inaugurated in this office. And I think about the barriers that Venus and Serena broke as well. And all of it begins with just someone believing in you and working really hard and never giving up and moving forward and getting others to believe in you as well. And I think that's something that when we think about this next election coming up, it inspires me to think about how inclusive we are as a party and how we create space at the table for everyone. And how we push forward to make sure that there's opportunities for everyone. And so that's what I got out of that movie. I loved it. It was inspiring. And, you know, I think that they are the greatest tennis players. And I see why after watching King Richard.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Pentozzi.
You know what, I mean, I missed my family during the pandemic, but going to movies is my thing, and not going to a movie theater for so long was really kind of hard. I would say the latest Marvel movie, the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, mostly because I have two teenagers and it's the one thing they will still do with me is go to a movie with me. So that's kind of my thing. I love Marvel movies. I love a good action hero, good versus evil. And, you know, it for me is kind of that feel good thing.
Thank you. And Chair Heyerbaum.
Mine is In the Heights with Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm a big musical fan, and I had all the words to the whole soundtrack memorized before the movie came out because I had been addicted to Hamilton. I was like, give me more, give me more. So I had memorized all the words to In the Heights. Actually went to a movie theater. That's the one movie I've allowed myself to go see during the pandemic, and I clapped during part of it. I never do that because I was just so in awe of the color and the music in the movie was beautiful. Anyway, highly recommend.
Those were, if I'm allowed to, I have to share before we go, because it actually led me to, well, I'll get there. So for the first time in my, and there are going to be people out there that are shocked by what I'm about to say. So I never saw The Butler before. And I was at home and I saw it on Netflix and I said, I'll watch it. I was so blown away and so disappointed in myself for not watching it sooner, but so blown away. And one of the questions that we actually got that I kind of wanted to tackle myself is, what about our municipals and our school board elections? And it was through watching The Butler that it sparked something in me, especially with, we all know how our school board meetings are going right now, that education is so important. And The Butler is really about education, and it's about understanding where everybody is coming from and understanding the rights and the wrongs of everything. And it really sparked me to say, we have to do more, especially with our school boards. We got to get more good folks elected, because those school boards are turning into a platform for politicians down the road. So we have to dedicate more resources, more groundwork, more footwork to especially those school board elections, those municipal elections, with funding and education. And I want to thank The Butler for really opening my eyes to that, and how important education is. So I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Special thanks to Lieutenant Governor Stratton. I cannot wait to have you back in DuPage. I will have my coordinated t-shirt and gym shoes ready. I hope you're ready. I've been practicing on my wobble. I'm ready. I got it.
We're
I
gonna be
am
ready.
ready. I'm
We
ready.
are on our way to 2022. We're ready.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. And thanks for joining the Democratic Party of DuPage County's Chair Chat. See you all soon.
Thanks
Thank
so much,
you.
everyone.
Hey,
Thank
Good
you.
night. We can probably stop recording.
Oh, yeah.